It was another lovely day on the island of Sodor. All the engines were working hard and keeping to time, but no one was working harder than the engines on the Farquhar branch, also known as Thomas's branch line. Thomas loved working on his branch line no matter what job he was given, but his favorite job was taking passengers down the line with his two coaches, Annie and Clarabelle. He couldn't see himself doing anything else. One day, Sir Topham Hatt came to the engines with unfortunate news. "It has been reported that a flood has occurred in the quarry, and it will take a while to clear the area," said Sir Topham Hatt. "Furthermore, it has been said that some of the track and stations on the branch have started to fall into disarray. Because of this, the branch line will need to undergo maintenance." "How long will the maintenance take, sir?" quizzed Thomas with worry in his voice. "I believe it would take a couple of weeks before the branch line will reopen," he boomed. "What will we be doing in the meantime, sir?" asked Percy. "I will assign you different jobs until the branch's maintenance is complete. Percy, you will be working on the Little Western with Duck and Oliver. Toby, you will work with Edward on the Brendam branch line." He then turned to Thomas. "Thomas, you will be working in the shunting yards near the big station," the fat controller finished. "You will all be doing these jobs until the branch's maintenance is complete." "Yes, sir," said the engines in unison. As Thomas left for the shunting yards, he felt very let down that he couldn't do the thing he loved the most. But he did enjoy shunting in the yards occasionally, and he was excited to see some of his friends. But when he got to the yard, he was surprised at what beheld him. "Cinders and ashes!" exclaimed Thomas. "This place is a mess. What happened here?" Thomas soon heard puffing. It was Stanley. He looked tired, but he was relieved to see another engine. "Oh, Thomas, I'm so glad you're here. Sorry about the mess. I was in a rush to find some trucks for James, and I forgot to organize this lot." "Well, you're lucky that I came to help while my branch line is undergoing maintenance." "Well then, let's get to work." For the next couple of days, Thomas helped Stanley sort all the trucks and coaches in the yard. He was super helpful, and Stanley was very thankful for his help. He and Stanley would alternate the shunting duties so the other could get some rest in a nearby shed. There would be some days where other engines would be needed to help, but Thomas and Stanley would always make sure that every truck, tanker, and coach was in a siding. One evening, Thomas was preparing to shunt a few more trucks into a siding before turning in for the night. "These will be my last few for the night, Stanley," said Thomas. "Okay, but be careful. You never know what could happen at night," warned Stanley. "Don't worry, I'll be fine," Thomas said confidently. Meanwhile, Henry was traveling light after taking his last train for the day. "I can't wait to get to my shed to get some well-deserved rest." The signals were shown green, meaning the track was clear, but then there was trouble. One of the points near the station had jammed, and Thomas and Henry were on the same line. But before the two engines could apply their brakes, it was too late. Luckily, no one was hurt, but Henry and a couple of Thomas's trucks were off the rails. Even though it wasn't his fault, Thomas couldn't help but feel guilty. The next morning, the breakdown gang was called and started to clean up the mess. Sir Topham Hatt spoke with Thomas. "How on earth did this happen?" quizzed the fat controller. "I wasn't looking where I was going, and I wasn't aware that Henry was on the same line as me. I'm sorry, sir," Thomas said meekly. "It's not entirely your fault, Thomas. We found out that the cause of this was a points failure." "Oh, I see. After the mess has been cleaned up, I need you to head to Whiff's waste dump." "The waste dump? Why?" "Unfortunately, your branch line is still undergoing maintenance, so I will have you work at various locations until the maintenance is complete. Understood?" "Yes, sir," said Thomas. It took a while, but the mess was soon cleaned up and Henry was back on the rails. After everything was resolved, Thomas made his way to Whiff's waste dump, and he was not looking forward to the smell of garbage.